Hey guys, and welcome to another quick devlog video for the Animal Behavior Kit. In this short video, I'm going to be showing you guys some of the improvements that I've made to the proximity system, specifically on how I handle animals that are inactive. So part of the push that I've been doing for 1.3 is to make the AI better and more performant for open world games, right? That was the whole point of making the activation manager, the improvements to the animal spawner. If you guys remember a video a while back, right? Everything that I've been looking at is trying to give you guys as much performance as possible, right? Because you're making a big world, you're gonna have a lot of animals. So what can I do to help you guys have a good game, right? And I've been doing some research in improvements, in performance improvements for the AI. Specifically, what can I do to make the AI better when it's inactive, right? So finally, I have something that I wanted to show you guys. And if I have, by the way, I have 200 deer in this map, just so you know. And you can see that my frame rate right now is about 32, right? And if I click play here, right now they're all inactive. And you can see that my frame rate is about 22, right? They're just there doing nothing. Right now they're just set to ignore and stay in place. And you can see that on the left hand side I have a print text that's saying ticking. So I have a new AI called Do Inactive, and I'm basically printing ticking on tick. And you'll also notice that if I go into the animation blueprint, I'm actually printing animating as well. So this basically is telling us when the animation blueprint is actually ticking. This also has its own tick, as you can see here, update, as well as some of the other improvements that you'll see in a second. So if I select one of these guys and I go under Setup General, you'll see that we have a new option here, and it's called Inactive Options. And I think I've shown some of this before, but now I have a lot more. I think this is going to be the final set of options for 1.3. So if you expand here, you see that now we have a bunch of options on how we can configure our AI to behave, right, when it's inactive. So the first thing is the option of make invisible while inactive. So it's going to hide the mesh. That means that it's not going to be rendered. That's going to save some performance. Disable collision, again, that's another measure. If the physics engine and Unreal is not trying to detect collision on tick, that saves performance. Then you have stop AI logic. This actually stops the behavior tree, which is kind of tricky to do. And then stop actor tick actually goes and stops the actor from ticking, right? So this is, as much as I can, we're literally disabling the actor without outright removing it. And the last option, which was a request from somebody in the Discord, was to outright despawn the actor, right? Despawns, I'm just destroying the actor. So if you have a game where you're constantly spawning new animals via the population control, and you just want the animal to despawn when it becomes inactive, you can use this option. This is kind of the nuclear option. It'll just destroy the animal, right? But I just wanted to show you guys how effective it is when we start enabling all these options, right? So as I said before, without anything selected, if I click play, and these are 200 animals, I'm getting about 22 frames per second. And you see on the text on the left that we're obviously ticking, we're animating, everything's firing, right? If I eject here, you can see that right now this is running. If I come to the animation blueprint, you can see that it is ticking. And if I open here, you'll see that again the actor itself is ticking, right? So it's about 22 frames per second. Now if I come back here and I say, okay, I actually want you to go invisible, we go from 22 to about 20, okay, 40. 38, 39 to 40. So we gain a lot. As you can see, already we're a much better place, right? About 36, 37 frames per second. We went from 22 to almost 40, right? Now we go back and say, okay, fine. What about collision? We don't want the AI to detect collision, and we can go ahead and do that. And now we go from about 38 to, sorry, from about 28 or I forgot. Thought it was 38 to about 42, 43. So we gain about a little bit more, but every little bit helps. And then we're going to go here and say, okay, well, we want our AI to stop ticking, right? Even if you don't have anything ticking, by the way, the blueprints are always ticking by default. So it's important for performance that you disable tick when you don't need it. And right now I'm using tick for just a few things in the ground class, like rotating the HUD towards the player to make it very smooth. And if you die, the ragdoll is done on tick. So it's not heavy use of it, but still it is some use of it. So right now I do stop actor tick and I click play. And now we go all the way to about 60 frames per second just by stopping tick on 200 actors in the scene. That's about, we started at 22 frames. Now I'm giving you guys up to 60 frames per second. And the last one, and the trickiest one, was to stop the behavior tree completely, stop AI logic. So this is very dramatic, right? Because if you have any system that's running, like follow the leader, the breeding system, attacks, anything that relies on this behavior tree, if you want this to run in the background, then you may not want to select this option. But if you absolutely need as much performance as possible, and you're not using a lot of these systems like the hunger, for example, looking for food or water or bait or whatever, and you just have to turn everything off, then you just say stop logic. And remember, just before this, we were at 60 frames per second. So now stopping the logic, if I click play, notice that we were ticking first, then animating, and then that goes away. And we're at 80 frames per second. Actually, a little bit more, between 79 to like 80 some frames per second, you can see here. So we went from 22 frames per second, which is the original setting, by the way, in 1.2. This is what you guys have right now. If you have AI that's really far away and is inactive, you would still get about 22 frames per second if you have all of this AI in your world, right? Now we're at 80 frames per second. Huge difference. Huge difference. The actor is not ticking, the actor is not animating, and the behavior tree is not running. And notice what happens if I get close to this area here. Now these guys spawn, and you can see that these guys are now ticking and are now animating, right? And of course their behavior trees are running, but in this case I made them just stay in place. So huge difference. And obviously imagine you use this on top of the animal spawners and the activation manager, and I think this is a huge difference in terms of performance. So I'm really happy with this improvement. Again, these are little things. It wasn't even that complicated. It just took me time to experiment and research what I could do to improve the performance. And you can see that now everything stops again. So there you go. Oh, and the last thing, I guess I'll show it here. And the last thing is if you wanted to despawn all of the animals as inactive, you can select that. And basically, as soon as they become inactive, they despawn. And you can see that now we're at 95 frames per second, obviously because we have no actors. And if I eject here, you see that basically we have nothing. So obviously in this case, you would get maximum performance because everything's destroyed. So I guess, you get to decide 80 frames per second or 95, right? But in this case, you have nothing, right? So the cost of having your actors in the level is about 15 frames per second for a massive amount of animals, right? Which obviously you still should not be the case, right? You should probably set it up that you never have so many animals active at the same time in your scene. That probably should not really be part of your goal. But if it is, then you have all these options here. All right, that's all I wanted to show you guys in this video. I do want to mention that I am basically wrapping up all of the functions. This is not something new, by the way. I've been working on this slowly as part of my list of work in progress features. I am done adding new things to ABK for 1.3. I know some of you guys have commented that I keep adding things. My plan is to basically finish everything that's work in progress this week except the swimming component, because that's really complicated. And if that is the case, then by the end of the week, I'm hoping that everything else that I've shown you before, Activation Manager, this stuff, some of the other improvements that I've made, basically all of the other videos that I've shown, all those systems, I want to make sure that I finish them this week and I test it. And then the only thing that would be missing would be to finish debugging the swimming component and add in a few extra features, and then I finally get to send you guys the update. So we're getting closer, guys. We're in the finishing line. So I'm really happy that I am making progress, and I'm working on this every day as much as I can. So thank you for your patience, and yeah, let me know what you think in the comments below, and I'll talk to you in the next video.